Hi. So this video is going to be on navigating the course. We're going to take a look at, we're going to take a brief overview of the course, and then we're going to look at where you can find each one of these things inside of Canvas. Very important that you do know how to navigate the course and that you do know how to actually find what you need to find inside of the course. Break this up into three sections. The first is in modules. Modules are where you're going to find most of the information that you need. It's also where you're going to find your assignments, and it'll oftentimes direct you to the modules. In the modules, you'll find your reading and videos, practice assignments, graded discussion boards, exam reviews. Then we also have the discussion board section, which will actually be really important because you'll be able to find your graded discussion boards and your help discussion boards. Finally, you'll have your grades, and then the resources for the course, which include announcements, very crucial, email, course syllabus, assignments, and something called Confer Zoom, which we'll talk about in a minute. Let's take a look at the course, and we're going to start in here with the modules. So this thing here is your home page, and what you'll notice is that there's a set of modules here, and over here on the left navigation, you also see a tab that says modules. So I'm going to click on there. I'm going to go into the module section. What you'll notice is, first, you'll notice a set of resources, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Then you'll start to see the course information. We'll start out with our day one, which will have things like your Canvas course tour. It'll have some of your academic honesty policy, an optional assignment on Intro to My Open Lab, math. And then finally, we'll get into the units. This is where you're going to be spending most of your time. What you'll notice is that how these are organized, they're organized into each individual module, which goes along with a particular week of the course. So for example, if we look at module 1, this is actually one that's very much like many of the modules. You'll see that it'll have a welcome, which will describe some of the things that you can expect to be inside of the course, inside of this section. So a brief introduction from myself. It'll explain what it is that you'll be able to do. So key ideas that you should be able to do by the time you finish this particular one. Some instructions as to what you actually need to do inside of the module. Then, if you click on Next, which we can do anytime we're in a module, you'll see our first set of practice assignments. Practice assignments are what we traditionally think about when we think about math. Okay, and what you'll see when this is actually fully up and loaded is you'll see a set of assignments in which you can go in, you can do one by one. They go through and they actually talk about, when we click on modules, what we'll notice that first we're going to get a set of resources that we can use when we're doing the course, and we'll talk about those more in a little bit. Then we'll also see course information. So for example, this is our day one, okay, which has instructions for your module 0, talks about the textbook, kind of gives you some extra information beyond this particular syllabus search. Then we'll get into module 1, and this is where these modules are where you're going to be spending the majority of your time, right? What we'll start with is we'll first start out with these welcomes, and these welcomes are to set you up for the particular section that we're going to be looking at. So we start out with welcome to module 1, and there's a short video in which I will talk a little bit about some expectations for this module, give you maybe some tips on what to work on, all right, and talk a little bit about doing whatever it is that's going to show up in the module. Then we'll have some learning objectives, and these are the things that I consider to be important to be learned inside of this particular section of the course. And they should set up for you, what is it that I want to learn after doing my readings, after watching my videos, and after doing my notes. Okay? Then we'll get some module instructions, which will at least give you a preview of the things that should be completed by the time you finish this module. At the end of each one of these pages, what you'll notice is a button that says Next. So I can click on Next. And after my instructions, I'm generally going to start in on my practice assignments. Now, one of the things that you're going to notice about the practice assignments is there's a lot of writing. A lot of these things inside of the practice assignments will tell you about how it is that you should go about doing the assignments, what things that might be actually kind of handy or are helpful. And then also what you'll notice in every one of these is this thing, which is a link that says Unit 1 Homework Help Questions Discussion Board. And so what you can do there is you can actually just go in and you can click on that link, all right? And it'll take you to a discussion board for this entire unit. So these 4 sections, for example, where you can get help, where you can ask questions, and where you can see where other people have gotten help. Then you'll notice as you get to the practice section, it's not like a normal practice where it's just starts you out with questions. Instead, what we've done is we've set it up to where there's a reading or a set of readings that you go in and you read and that you're going to take some notes on. All right. These readings are specifically what the practice assignments are going to be on, and the practice assignments are what the exam is going to be on or the exam reviews are going to be on. So make sure that you go in, do the readings, and take some notes. Then you'll end up with a summary, and this will now allow you to go to a next page. When we click on the next page after that summary, we'll get maybe a little bit more reading, and then we'll see some questions that are designed to help you actually practice the ideas of this particular section. So you'll go in, you'll click on, it'll ask you determine whether the value is a parameter or statistic. You'll know what that means because you'll have done the reading, and then you'll select, right, whether or not it's a parameter or statistic, and then you can go in and show the answer and submit. Okay. When I click on show answer, let me just show you that it just show answer. It says parameter. Okay. That's just because that's the one I chose. Sometimes what you'll see is that you'll put in a numerical value and you want to make sure that it looks like what you want it to look like. And that's why you're going to use the show answer button. So we go in, we do all of that, then we go on to the next page. Okay. So we'll go in and I just leave. You make sure that you do actually save all your questions. Again, a little bit more reading. So make sure that you go in, you take some notes, and then these are designed to help you understand these concepts. Be super, super diligent about making sure that you understand the concepts and that you're not just actually trying to get the points on the assignment. All right? It's a waste of time if all you're trying to do is get points. There's only 15% of the points available. You're not going to pass the course unless you know what it is that you're doing. Okay? All right? Finally, right? So you'll notice the previous page, that actually means the assignment is done. And then if I click on next, okay, just move myself out of the way. If I click on next, you'll notice now I'm going to go into practice 1.2. So I'm going to go back to modules because you can continue to do those kind of things. And what you'll also notice inside of the modules is the graded discussion boards. This is one way to access the graded discussion board. We'll talk about another way in just a moment. But if you want to, you can go in and click on the graded discussion board. You'll get a prompting for the post. You'll get information and instructions for the post. Please make sure that you read them and abide by them. If you do not, you will not get full credit. Okay? And go in, put in your reply to the posting. You'll also be expected to reply to 2 other posters. This is for each and every one of the discussion boards throughout the entire course. A discussion board should take you anywhere from half an hour to an hour a week. They are really, really great for you to be able to communicate your ideas and to see how other people communicate their ideas about what's going on in the course. You must do them. I recommend that you try and do them well. Then if I click on next, what you'll notice is we finally get to the summary, which basically tells me what it is that I expect to have completed by finishing this particular section of the course. So here's my assignment check, and then it talks a little bit about next steps, and these next steps are actually good things that you might want to do in order to do well on the course. Okay. Now, let's take a look. We'll go back into modules. Module 1 is really very much a reading heavy section. But what you'll notice is that sometimes in some of the modules, what I will have done is I will have created some supplementary videos that I think will be necessary for you to be able to do well on that section. So like, for example, section 2 has some videos on box plots. It'll have videos on percentiles if we need to. So you may notice also inside of the modules some other videos that you might find very valuable in actually doing the homework and doing well on the exams. We talked a little bit about exam reviews. What you'll notice if you see, if we go in here after Unit 4 is our Exam 1 information. In here, you'll see, if you click on Exam 1 information, you'll see times and locations, the exam review, what are the topics to review for Module 1 through 3, okay? And some information about what you'll need. If we click on Next, what you'll see is that you now have an exam review. This is the area in which you're going to submit that assignment. And so there'll be information as to how you're going to submit that. You're basically going to take a picture of your work, or you're going to find some other way to upload it into Canvas so that I can see that you actually completed the exam review. Finally, you'll also see your written assignment for this particular section, which is the Center, Spread, Shape, and Outliers assignment. As you're going through, I would recommend, since this one is actually on Unit 3, as you're doing Unit 3, you might want to take a look at this particular one. I'll give you some feedback and information as to how you might want to approach each one of these kind of written assignments. But that's also where you can locate them. That's in the module section. Now let's move on to discussions. Discussion boards are crucial for us to be able to do a lot of the work of the class. So what I'm going to show you here is we're going to have basically, there's two basic kinds of discussion boards. One, well, you'll see we have general course questions. These are not actual questions about the math. These are questions about like, where's the exam taking place? Or does anybody know whether or not we should have a Scantron? Things along those lines. If you don't want to email me about it, that's okay. You can put it in the general course questions. I check these just as often as I check anything else. Then I have a study group discussion board. Study groups are crucial to mathematics. And what often kind of gets missed is that it's possible for you to have an online discussion group or a study group. And these are places where you can go in to try and maybe set one up. I think I found that there are some times in which we get 2 or 3 different study groups that are going on inside of an online group, and they are crucially important for the students. The students actually do much better because they're not trying to do all the work alone. So if you are local to Orange County and you want to set up a study group, or if you think that there are multiple people in your area, then I would encourage you to set up to use the study group discussion board. The next one are these unit discussion boards. And so these are not graded. What they are is they're places for you to actually ask questions about any homework or ideas or concepts that you're having problems with inside of a unit. So again, there are 4 units, unit 1, 2, 3, and 4, and there's a help discussion board for each one of them. I used to have them for every module, but I think that this probably might be a little bit better and we might get a little bit more use. These are great, and these are great places for you to ask questions. I check my discussion boards twice a day during the week and once on the weekends to actually answer any questions that students might have. I'll post videos on here. I will give in-depth explanations, that sort of thing. But what I'm asking you to do is to actually make sure that you follow the rules for the discussion board. If all you do is say, I'm having problems with section 2.1 number 2, then that's actually not sufficient because it's not helpful to me and it's not helpful to the other students. We need to actually have you kind of cut and paste the question, which should only take a couple of minutes, maybe a minute or two, and then tell me what it is that you've already done or where you're actually stuck. Okay? Just saying, give me the answer to this is not sufficient because these are for practice and they're to actually help me help you understand the concepts of the course. So help me to help you, like Jerry Maguire said. Okay. All right. These are great. I highly recommend them. I'm going to remind you about them. And I'm going to remind all the students about them because I just find that they're great repositories for the collected information of the course, right? Let's say you have a question, you ask that question, I answer the question, another person who's working on it has the same question, they're doing it at like 9 o'clock at night. Well, it's awesome that they can go into this discussion board area and actually see that the question's been answered already. Like somebody's actually already thought about this problem, and so they can actually get some help with what they're working on. Okay, so please follow the rules of the discussion board. Think of this as a community forum where we can all get help and we can all do better on the course. Okay, all right. And then finally in the discussion area, you'll find all of the graded discussion boards. What I'll do is I'll pin each one of the discussions when they're actually in use. So before the due date for an actual graded discussion board, I'll put it into the pinned section. And then also when I have a homework help discussion board and we're on a particular unit. So that'll go all the way up until we finish and complete that actual exam. Okay, so those are discussions. Now, let's talk about grades. So you click on grades, and this is your grading view. This is the student grading view. And what you'll see first over here is that grading criteria that we already talked about. And then what you'll notice is the points that are available for each one of these problems, okay, or for each one of these. So as you're going through and working through each one of these, you'll notice, like say, for example, if I do practice 6.1 empirical rule, you'll see a grade for that particular assignment. Now, the cool thing here is that if you are not completed with the assignment, you'll see a grade right here, but that's actually an incomplete grade until you actually get up to the due date. Once it gets up to the due date, it's kind of like set in stone unless you use what's called the late pass, which is something that you can find out more about inside of the modules. So the idea here is that if you submit, right, okay, you can always go back into an assignment and actually do more on that assignment and get a higher grade on that assignment up until the due date. You can, in fact, get full credit up on these assignments up until the actual due date. In addition, what you'll notice inside of the grading areas are, like, for example, your exams and exam scores, and you'll also see totals. Okay, so here's your total for the course, your final exams, how well you're doing on the practice assignments, the written assignments, so that you can go in and actually get a sense of how you're doing overall inside of the course. The grade area is one of those areas where you want to check every so often, just to make sure that everything is kind of the way it should be. Okay. I go in, I do grade everything that I get. I make sure that if you've actually posted it and put it in, you've submitted it, that it gets a grade in a timely manner. Generally, it takes me anywhere from 2 days to a week in order to make sure to go in and do the grading. But do make sure that you've gone in and done that. And then if there is any discrepancies, you actually send me an email to let me know what's going on. So there's our grades. Now let's take a look at some of the resources. I'm going to go to the home screen. I'm going to talk a little bit about some things that are really important. Okay, so one is I'm going to talk about the announcements. So I post announcements, and these are things that are a bit more long form. Emails, when I send emails, they're going to be a little bit shorter. They may ask you a question. They might be short reminders. Announcements are going to be longer, and what they're going to do is they're going to have important information. So when you click on the announcements, you'll see a set of announcements and when they were actually posted. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that on a regular basis, at least once every 2 days, if not every day, you're going in and checking the announcements or making sure that you put into your settings that you get them in your email and that you actually are reading them. Okay, I find it's much easier to go in and read the announcements than it is to actually get them in my email. Okay, but what ends up happening is a lot of people ask me the same questions over and over again, and I say they're inside of the announcements. You can actually go in and see all the information that's there in the announcements, and it actually just tells me you're not reading my announcements, which is bad for you. Okay, because they're actually crucial information. They are places where I make statements that are crucial for the course, and they're in fact recorded documents, right? They give you instructions. And if you're like, hey, I didn't know that, but it's written inside of an announcement, guess what? You did know it, at least according to how this course runs. Okay, so all that information is generally given. It's oftentimes given in the announcement, or it'll be also given inside of the inside of the assignment. Secondly, we want to take a look at email. Email over here, you'll notice that you have an inbox, and that's where you're going to find your email. Check your email daily. Responsible people check their email daily. This is not like your friends communicating with you. This is something you're getting a grade for. Email is generally going to be a bit more urgent even than announcements. I will frequently, if I put an announcement up and I put an email up, or I put an email that says check this announcement, you should go in and check that announcement as soon as possible. If I send you an email and it has your name at the top of it, or if I ask you a question that I actually want to respond to, please send me a response. Okay? And send me in a timely manner. Treat this like it's your job. Okay? Because inevitably, there's a reason why I'm sending you that email, why I sent it to you in particular. It's because I have a concern about something that's going on in the course with regard to you. Okay? Or there's something that I think is going to be of benefit to you. I'm not doing it because I want to be a jerk or anything. I'm doing it for you, and I want you to, get the most out of the course as you possibly can. All right. Now, if we go in here and we're going to click on modules again. If I go into the resources section, I want to kind of notice a couple of things. One is to notice that there's Canvas help and technical support in the resources. So in case you do need help with Canvas, you can find it. 2, you have your textbook. So for those of you who want a textbook and want to work from a textbook, it's sitting right there. Okay, it's a PDF. You can actually go in and, in fact, purchase a textbook if you'd like, but you don't have to. It's not required. In addition to that, we have something called Net Tutor. I'll let you take a look at that. That's one where you can get one-on-one tutoring, which you may want to take advantage of. I mean, you're an online student. See if you can actually take advantage of the free online tutoring services. What I would recommend is that you utilize these at specific times and locations. Don't just have them, hey, I'm doing my homework. Can you help me with my homework? Again, that's not going to be helpful to you. On the other hand, if you're like, hey, I'm really having a problem with this, like binomial distributions or the normal distribution or sampling distributions, sections 5, 6, and 7, you might really want to be like, I'm going to go set up a time with the net tutor because I'm having problems with these particular sections. And so that would be like kind of very handy. Where to get tutoring assistance? I'm going to click on this one real quickly here. You'll notice that we have a math center at Santa Ana College. We also have an academic computing center, which I'm in twice a week. Okay, so I'll be there in there twice a week this semester, and in other semesters there'll be at other times. There's also a learning center where you can set up one-on-one tutoring in person. If you are in the Santa Ana area, I would highly recommend, and you can, make time to go to one of these three, okay, or see what you can do. If you are available in the middle of the day or available at the time in which I'm at the academic computing center, come see me. I'd love to see you. I'd love to work with you. I'd love to do some statistics with you, right? It'd be awesome. I love seeing students when I'm there. I'm also in the math center during the semester too. So you might as well, if you can, make it during those times as well. The math center always has statistics tutors. So if you need to, kind of see somebody for stats, you can find it there as well. So these are some places for you to go out and get some tutoring assistance. Okay. The last thing I want to show you is this thing called Confer Zoom. If I click on Confer Zoom, what you'll notice is right now I'm in a test student, so it doesn't actually have an email for me. But what you'll see here is like upcoming conferences. All right. Say, for example, we might have a review session, or we will have review sessions. And when we have those review sessions, you can come in. This is where you're going to go to look for them. You're also going to go here in order to look for the videos of the review sessions. And if we're doing online office hours and you want to do a conference with me, this is where we're going to do those conferences as well. We can sit down. I can work with my tablet. I can, kind of help you out with whatever you need, right? And you'll be clicking on Confer Zoom to do that. So what I would say is send me an email. Tell me, hey, I would like to actually do a conference with you. Okay, we'll set up a conference time and then we'll start chatting. Okay, so that's Confer Zoom. This completes actually the tour of Canvas for this course. Okay, there are other ones. There's a second Canvas tour, right, that you can use, but it's not going to be as specific to this course. So take note of how things are set up here. Okay.